Hello and welcome at Focusring, an accessibility and web development podcast. My name is Damen, and today I'm joined by Martijn Fleurkens, content developer and accessibility lead at the ABN AMRO and co-founder of Distilled. Welcome, Martijn.
Yes, thank you, Tim. Really excited to be here, discuss accessibility, maybe have some good debates. So yeah, let's start.
Thanks again for joining us in the studio. I'm always happy if someone joins the studio, then we have a nice conversation in real life instead of online. And what does accessibility mean to you?
All of these services that we're now digitizing, they are becoming essential. You want to do something for the government, need to do something for your municipality. All of these important parts are now primarily digital, which brings an amazing opportunity. We can make things so much easier, but that does mean we have to think about everyone and make sure it's accessible by everyone.
No, I fully agree. I was thinking also, I've been invited to speak somewhere in Australia upcoming month. And I was thinking, I will not go to Australia, unfortunately, but I will do it online. But this of course online streaming and live talking wasn't available a while back, and due to the internet, it's possible to speak all the way somewhere in Australia, which is I think is one of the most important, one of the most nicest things about the internet, which makes it possible to connect people, share your information, share something that you would like to say, and um, and share it with a larger audience. So, yes, is this also the reason that you started to work more on accessibility, to advocate more for it?
Yeah, I think originally it started more from a technical frustration, actually. As a developer, I really care about making sure we develop in the best way, but also the easiest way, let's say. And there were just what I saw in companies, a lot of frustrations for me where we were using weird things, which made the web inaccessible for people with disabilities, but also just for everyone using the internet. The internet by standard, by default, is very accessible. But then we have to use it how it's designed, and the tools that we get from the internet as developers. And there, like I was really technically frustrated getting into that, and deep diving into it. I also saw when we don't do that, how big of an impact it has to accessibility, and where we ignore a whole group of people when we don't think about it. And that's really where, for me, it fueled and became like so important to talk about accessibility, to work on accessibility, and to make sure we improve it on the internet.
Yeah, no, indeed.
How was that for you, Tim?
Yeah, similar. I personally, for me, I've struggled with disability myself as well. So I'm dyslexic. I've been discovered it at a very young age. For me, primary school already. So, but I did always get a lot of help from people surrounding me, but also assistive technology, helping me to read and helping me with spelling and grammar and stuff like that. And yeah, I think this feeling of help that I did get at the time, and the people that were ready to help, and just stuck with me deep down, and this came up in me again when I came into close contact with the topic accessibility digitally. I've been a front-end developer for more than 10 years now, but since the last 3 years, I would say I've started focusing more on accessibility, and until now. And personally, now I believe that creating digital products, services online, accessible on the web, developing such a service it's not finished when a service is not accessible, I believe. Of course, we all still make mistakes. I would not say that everything I create is perfectly accessible. We are still humans, but trying your best and making the effort, I think, will get you a long way already. And that's my aim personally. So, of course, you can't make it accessible for everyone, but focusing on it and trying to do the best is something that I really make sure I do nowadays. And also the people surrounding me in my team, within my organization, even try to reach out to people, share knowledge, help them with certain topics which they might have not so much experience with. These are the steps that I now take, which I think are really important to do.
Yeah, I think that it already makes a huge impact when you take accessibility into account, and it really doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, especially when you start, it's such a big topic. I think that's often also what people forget. It's not a simple checklist. It's a huge topic, but it starts with having the right mindset. And I think when that's already there as a person or within an organization, that's a huge start. Yeah, it makes me also think. A few weeks back, I saw this satirical sketch, and it was about this village about physically impaired people, and it really, I think, is like currently what's happening or what is happening in our society. And in that satirical sketch, those physically impaired people are all wheelchair users. So of course they're gonna build it to their standards. So think about you don't need to have such high doors. Ceilings don't have to be very high. You don't even need chairs. And then after a few months, the abled people come. A few of them come, and they're like they also want to live in the village. But yeah, they start getting bruises on their heads because the ceilings are so low. And then doctors, psychiatrists, social workers, they all come together because they're like, what's like, these people have bruises, like that's a problem. So what are we gonna do? Okay, we're gonna get them braces so they, when they're banded, we can help them with that. We're gonna create charities for these people. Maybe even we have to found special homes for them to live in with higher ceilings. And then one day it dawns on the, let's say, able people that there's actually nothing wrong with them. Why are they talking with psychiatrists? Why are they talking about social workers? Because it's the society that excludes them. And I think that's really where I found it really important when I saw that sketch. Looking back, this is where we are with society, what we are doing wrong.
Yeah, indeed. This is, I think, the perfect vice versa view. That is a really nice way to think about accessibility, right? I think great sketch. And I didn't see it myself, so yeah, so please please share. Maybe you can also share it for people listening in the show notes. No, but I think really nice way of looking at it. And how do you think we should approach this? Of course, this sketch shines a light on the way also we are doing it right now, right? I think. Um, what are some things you think we could do better, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's something we talked about earlier is having the right mindset. And to have the right mindset, you first also need to know of accessibility. And I think that's the first thing that goes wrong. Often talking about to developers, because there's no developer. I think I heard you say this before, that wants to create a bad user experience or especially bad accessibility. But it's like having the knowledge or even knowing that accessibility is a topic. So I think this is partly there because organizations don't talk about it, but also at least years back in education, for developers there wasn't any attention to it, and that's I think where when you don't know it, you don't get educated about it. Yeah, you're gonna develop it, you're gonna make sure it functionally works for you, but that's where you stop. So if we talk about it more in education, we educate developers, designers, everyone in our industry. As businesses, we of course have now the EU law that's coming up, which says that the EU law in 2025, June 2025, organizations have to be accessible. These things also help organizations to become accessible or think more about it.
Yeah. No, indeed, that's a good outlook for 2025. I think it's something that's on the horizon right now, which is I think a very nice development and a good step forward in terms of legislation surrounding accessibility. I think lots of companies, organizations are making moves right now. Maybe a little bit of stress even, but I think the direction is good. And as long as you try to do things a little bit better every day, you will eventually get there. One thing that I notice also around me is that, okay, we shouldn't see this accessibility. And now also with the EAA, there's a lot of focus on accessibility, I see. But hopefully it's not seen as this one-off project, just to now fix accessibility and then it stays fixed forever. I hope companies come to the realization that this is not the best strategy, but of course, you need to get your accessibility to a higher level, but then also maintaining it and even staying up to date with the latest changes should be something that you consistently try to stay on a certain level and even go a little bit above.
Yeah,
of course.
yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
You can't drive a team in company and say, hey, fix this for us, and then indeed maybe they're like in June when this law is coming into place. Yeah, we're accessible, checkpoint, and now we can continue how we always have done it. And that's I agree. Something I'm afraid of that can happen. Because it's important that when you start thinking of something, building something new, adding something, immediately you take accessibility into account.
Yeah.
So I hope that after this law is come into play, that there's also going to be regulations where actually regulators are going to check it, are going to give fines Of course, fines are never nice, but it does ensure that it isn't a one-time thing where companies are now maybe stressed and doing quick fixes and then not looking back anymore.
Yeah. Hopefully, I think a good development will be, and I think we will get there eventually, is comparing it to security, for example. We work in a banking industry, so security is like almost the topmost priority in everything we do. Of course, we don't want to get hacked. I think you also the latest developments here in the Netherlands, we see it with the University of Eindhoven, the TU Eindhoven. Few days offline now due to hackers. I think, yeah, of course, security is very important in today's world. But it would be nice if security is, yeah, currently on a high level. It would be nice if it can be leveled or viewed the same way as accessibility as well. I think that's the direction that's set out right now, and if we stay advocating for it, we will eventually get there, hopefully. Also meaning with quality checks and processes that we have all currently within the organization as well. Processes surrounding making sure teams do not push security vulnerabilities into production. We should have the same, I think, tools available, the same flows available for accessibility as well. I think that's a good goal to pursue, because in the end, I'm not a security expert. I don't think you are too. A lot of my fellow close colleagues are also not security experts, but there are still checks and processes in place to make sure we do not push vulnerabilities to production. And the same processes and the same checks need to be in place for security as well, because we can't now with the new EU law, we are not compliant when our products are not accessible. That's the way it is from this year on. All right, so we need to have the same security, accessibility security rules in place. And I think we will get there, but staying advocating for it and staying updating about this is important, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Like, if you are a developer, you cannot know everything, and it's of course becoming more complicated. We have security, accessibility is another point. So first thing is the mindset, and then in a company there should be, same as security, a team who is specialized on it, or at least within your team maybe a specialized person that can do the checks, that's automated tools that can do the checks. And then when these teams find issues and also tooling finds issues, this is brought to the teams so teams can solve it. And then they, of course, if it's hard to solve, there's also a team to help. Yeah, when you compare this, I think this a very similar implementation can be done, and yeah, we can make big progress.
Yeah, for sure. Talking about 2025, we're still only just in 2025. January right now. What are some of your personal goals or organization-wide goals for accessibility this year?
Yeah, I think for me, of course, an important topic is that EU Accessibility Act. That's making sure that before June 2025, the products I work on are accessible. Above that, I want to make sure But what we talked about earlier is we advocate for not it being a one-time thing and not being a one-time solution, but it really being integrated into the organization. That means there are being processes in place. There is education, recurring education within the company about accessibility. You have newcomers coming in, teams changing. So you need to make sure that accessibility is always high, or at least on people's minds. They have a certain knowledge about it. And I think also we already see in the universities a big trend where accessibility is becoming more important. But for me, also a big goal this year is that to make sure we push this further in universities. We talk more about accessibility to really advocate for it.
Yeah, I think these are all very nice goals, and if we make it so indeed that the mature, I think we started somewhere. You can see that read up about this, the maturity level or surrounding accessibility. Of course, we're now at, I think the level, most organizations are level 1, level 2 maybe. At least, of course, shouldn't decline. Hopefully, steadily going up. Going into the future, of course, with these processes, with these automatic checks, training, knowledge sharing, getting the knowledge there, mentioning the importance of accessibility for developing our services.
Yeah, exactly. Is there for you any maybe other things or similar things you have as goals for this year?
Yeah. So sharing content about so spreading the knowledge, also crossing the borders of the organization I work for, also more out in the open to fellow other front-end developers, designers within my network, but also of course beyond my network. Yeah, so sharing content via this podcast, for example. Hopefully doing some talks as well. But yeah, also the same as you, making sure that the maturity level goes up and that we stay sharp.
Yeah.
On accessibility. I think is a nice goal. We have some traction now. I think keeping the traction there is really nice.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and talking about the processes, I think it's interesting for organizations to know a little bit about some a good strategy surrounding accessibility. When you get into the topic, might be a bit daunting. Yeah, what do we need to do? Legislation coming up. WCAG is there. A lot of different criteria we need to solve. A bit of designing, a bit of engineering, maybe some copywriting as well. A lot of different roles within the organization might need some changing in their workflow. But what do you think are some good strategies that organizations can take? For example, new into accessibility. What are some of the first things that you need to do?
Yeah, like you said, it's a lot, and especially if you did not think about it before or minimally, then it's a huge topic and it can be very daunting to start with. To start with it is really the first thing, and there it's important that you get support within your organization, and make sure the support is there organization wide. It's not up to one person to solve. Make sure what's important is that you convince higher management to make sure that there are resources, time to spend and work on accessibility. That's really the first pillar for the organization to start with their accessibility steps. Then once you got support, you can start thinking about making sure everyone has at least some knowledge, making sure there's trainings happening. You also create the awareness to not only the upper management, but everyone in the organization, and that the content writers, the designers, the developers, the testers all know what to do and how to work on accessibility. And then once you have that going on, you can really start identifying issues. Maybe if you have a team or a few specialized persons, you could do an audit, or per team you could do an audit to see, okay, what gap is there? What have we been doing the past years? What have we been building? And what are the accessibility issues in that product that we currently have live? Once you have identified that, you can start looking into solving them. And then it's more of going into a long-term process and looking into automation and processes. But it's really about support, training, identifying the issues, and then you start solving them.
You also mentioned getting external help, of course. When you start out, it's all new and might be a bit daunting. Of course, starting also with some external help might be a really good option. Getting some experts surrounding accessibility in, and start setting some goals. Start focusing on improving accessibility overall. And you will very quickly also see, once you get some results, that also the product and the user satisfaction will also increase, because an accessible product is most of the time a more understandable product as well. I think this is not highlighted enough yet. I have to say, making something accessible is not only focusing on people with disabilities, which is of course really important, but accessibility is for everyone. Making a product more accessible is making it better, is making it more understandable, is reducing your calls to your customer service, is creating more revenue even for you.
Yeah.
There are lots of studies out there now which show, all right, e-commerce websites lose a lot of revenue by being not accessible. Most of the times you can't even check out if you use only keyboard navigation. You will really get focus trapped, and that's why we picked the name of the podcast, of course, the focus trap. Sometimes good, sometimes not. Of course, you want to get focus trapped in the model, but you don't want to get focus trapped in a select box, of course, which happens sometimes, which makes it impossible, very hard for people using keyboard accessibility to check out a big order in the e-commerce websites.
Indeed, this. Yeah, I think what often is not realized, there's such huge amount of people struggling or having a disability, which means struggling with the website when accessibility isn't taken into account. So then those studies make a lot of sense, that you are losing profit, money, because I would also. I will go to another website if I can't check out, or if it's getting too difficult, because there's probably more options out there. And that's indeed taking into account only the disabilities. I think what's really important, also what's often forgotten, is what you said. When taking into account accessibility, you also improve the usability for everyone. Maybe as a developer, you are developing for your computer, for your laptop. and it works everything perfectly. But then on your touchscreen, when it's only one-click movements, all of a sudden there are problems. Things are stuck, or the button is too small. So when you are in a rush, or doing something, it's really too hard, and you're struggling. And that's also where, if you're talking about the revenue, I think accessibility can really increase your revenue.
Yeah, no, definitely. And nice thing about being more accessible, having higher customer satisfaction. I think good to highlight. Yeah, looking into the future and looking into the future of digital accessibilities. What do you see? Do you see some emerging trends right now?
Yeah, I think one of the trends, which has a positive and a negative side to it, is automation. Of course, it's this is something we see growing in accessibility. For a long time it wasn't there, or till not very good. And I think this is really a trend where now that accessibility is becoming a bigger topic for a lot of companies, you also see more automated tools, better automated tools being out there, and they can help us track a lot of the issues. And that is, I think, something that on the positive side, really will help us, especially when you start out. You can immediately see, okay, this is items where the accessibility is going wrong. These are issues we need to solve. On the negative side, I think sometimes the people think, okay, I just have to check off these items that the tool found, and then we're accessible, which is definitely not the case. I think the studies are out there which says that the automated tools currently are somewhere to 20 to 30% finding the issues. That of course ranges per tool, and when they're getting more advanced or not in the type of product you're making. But I think that's something good to make sure you're aware of and to take into account.
Automation can't fix all the accessibility vulnerabilities, unfortunately. Well, also a good thing, of course. These tools can really help you getting up to speed, and also showing you earlier in your development process, in your development cycle, pointing you to some problems it might arise. Also, then directly pointing you to the right knowledge and description of the problem, which I think is also very nice because it has some kind of learning mechanism, and getting the level of accessibility knowledge higher within your engineering teams is always a good thing, because you can prevent mistakes from happening in the future. Also, automation is also, I think, a positive development. And how important do you think it is to also test with the end user, and also in this group add, of course, people with disabilities to test with?
Yes, yeah, super important. Yeah, and that's of course the other thing we didn't talk about yet. And often, it is accessibility is seen as a checklist, and of course the automated tools within there, it is as a checklist. And then we have what often we use is the WCAG criteria, which is a really nice standard for us to work on regarding accessibility. It is what the EU law uses to make sure that they can check if companies are accessible. In the end, it is we're making all of these changes for users, which means that we also need to test it from a user experience, and that means a wide variety of users. So that means also testing with users that have disabilities, where we're making these changes to see, are there still struggle points? Are there things that can be made smoother, create a better user experience? So it's very important that it's being tested.
Yeah, no, indeed, yeah, and yeah, in also adding to this group of testers and people with disabilities, always good.
I think maybe to also give sometimes some examples. In theory, when you have a button and it says go to website A, and then sometimes you see that there's also screen reader text, but then it's like click on this button to go to website A to find there, which is like, of course, one side it's great that that there was a thought thinking about the user. It is according to the criteria accessible, but for screen reader users, that is way too much text. It becomes a very exhaustive process to listen to everything. And by testing it, you would know, okay, it is just enough to not have that screen reader text there and make it the same text as the button.
I agree. Then we also get into the realm of preferences, right?
Yeah.
Some users have other preferences than other users. Some might like the extra information, but some might not. And including these people into your testing process will get you to the best answer. I believe. Can be a bit daunting at first because, of course, setting up these testing arrangements with your end user, working for a big organization, I think can be a little hard, but not entirely impossible. Focusing on this is, I think, really important. There should be some team, someone making sure that these things are handled. And fortunately, we do that at the ABN AMRO currently, I know, which is always nice. And I always read the reports that follow out of these sessions, and try to integrate them into what we do every day.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, these insights are very very useful. You can't yourself make a decision what every user likes, and what for them it makes logical sense. So it's really important you test with every user, or at least make sure every user that is using your application or your product is represented. So you test with a different scala of users.
Yeah, indeed. What are some takeaways that you want to share with the listeners?
Some takeaways. Yes. I think if you're starting out with accessibility, it's what we earlier talked about, to make sure to bring recognition within your organization. Think also, when you think about working with accessibility, think about the different disabilities there are. Sometimes there's the idea that there's only one disability. We're just talking maybe about screen reader users and users that cannot see. but we also are talking about dyslexia. We are talking about a lot of topics, so it's important to not forget that there's a lot of perspectives to take into account. The web is accessible by default. I think that's a good key takeaway. So if you use it as it was designed, you are already really far and going really well. So you don't. Sometimes I get this answer from developers who start with accessibility, and it's like, yeah, we have to program so much more. We have to add area everywhere and all of these helper informations, and then we go through everything together. And a lot of this is not necessary because we forget that the web is by default accessible. So I think that is also a key takeaway I really want to.
Semantic HTML, guys. Semantic HTML. Yeah. That will get you already a head start.
Indeed.
I would say. Yeah. I think great takeaways from this session. I'm going to thank you for joining. And to you also, where can people find you online? How can they reach you?
Yeah, I think the best to find me on LinkedIn, Martijn Fleurkens, and then reach out, send a message, connect. That's a good.
All right, thank you so much for joining, and thanks for listening, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this episode together with Martijn Fleurkens. If you like what we are doing, you want to support us, please rate, subscribe, like, all the different varieties of showing support. Also sharing some comments, always nice. We are going to take them into account and also try to improve, of course, quality. What we are trying to do. Always nice to get some feedback. All right. Thank you so much. And I hope to get you on another time as well.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. It was really nice conversation.